Hello and welcome to another What Sold on eBay video. I'm your host Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler. We're going to go through some of the items sold in our eBay charity shop throughout this video. So you're going to see different eBay BOLO items and things to look out for when you're out there thrifting, garage sailing, your out-of-state sales, thrift shops, etc., etc. As a quick program note, we're only going to show the first 10 minutes here on YouTube. If you want to see the whole 20-minute plus video, you're going to have to go over to Patreon to see the whole video. We're doing a lot more stuff over there on Patreon, and it's just been something that we've been forced to do with the YouTube algorithm, as about 96% of my viewers are not subscribed, which is like a crazy number. So if you're not subscribed, definitely go down there, click the subscribe button. We'll be doing some full videos for YouTube every once in a while, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. But for as little as $2 a month, you can go to the Patreon, and the link is below. Enough of that. Let's get into the info. Up first, we have this Tom Ford pictorial coffee book. As we can see here, for those that don't know, Tom Ford is a designer, clothing designer, and it's actually a really good BOLO brand. Anything you see Tom Ford, definitely pick it up, especially shirts and things like that. He's most known for his custom-made suits, but he has sunglasses and a lot of different things. I even think he's got into the cologne business, but there's lots of accessories. Anything Tom Ford, pick it up. It hasn't been kind of messed up by the whole clearance, like, basically Coach, used to be a really good name in purses, and then they started to have, like, clearance sales and all kinds of different kind of like outlet stores, and kind of devalued the brand. And so that's kind of what happened with Coach. But Tom Ford is still a brand that hasn't really happened to yet. So pretty much anything you find, almost like Louis Vuitton or anything like that, anything you find with the Tom Ford name is going to be worth some money. And if it's a good value, definitely look it up. And of course, obviously you want to look up each piece, but if the price is right, just buy it. You don't even have to look it up. So yeah, this is just a coffee book that went for, a coffee table book that went for $65. So as you can see here, that's Tom Ford. That's what he looks like. He looks a little older now. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, 2004. That was 16 years ago. But yeah, you can see this book went for retail for $135, and if this thing was brand new, it would probably go for like $40 or $30 more. So just look out for Tom Ford anything. Next up, we have this antique 1977. This is a Peggy Newhall silhouette. Silhouettes were very popular at the turn of the century. There, as you can see here, this is inscribed by Peggy Newman. As you can see here. Silhouettes, they're basically like someone will take your figure, and usually they're just kind of like cut out. Sometimes they'll use like shadows, and they'll trace it real quick, or even the newer ones will take photos and just cut it out. But basically, the old time would be like they would take a shadow, they would put you in front of behind a light, and then they would kind of trace you out, and do all that kind of stuff, and then cut these out, and that's how they'd paste this black piece of paper once it's cut out. The artistry is in the cuts. But anyways, enough about silhouettes. If you ever see this kind of stuff out there, it's not worth a lot, but if you can get a famous person that has done this, or something that has like novelty value, it's definitely something to look at and something to pick up. I want to say we did take a best offer for 30 something on this piece, from 1917. That's, towards the tail end of World War One. And if we could take a little deep dive, definitely look out for one of the best known things for collectibles and silhouettes has to do with Disneyland. I'm not sure if they still do it today, but I know for sure in the 80s they used to do this, but all the way back in the 50s when Disneyland opened, they used to be able to do silhouettes, as you can see here. This one sold for $75 last year. And the older the better, by the way, with these type of things. As you can see here, it looks like this one is actually, I don't know why the little scissor thing's there. Maybe this one is like something that needed to be cut out at some point. But the Disneyland silhouettes are probably one of the most well-known silhouette kind of thing that's out there. But like I said, usually for Disneyland, it's the older the better. This one went for $100. This was from 1955. Disneyland opened in 1955, for those that don't know. And so usually stuff in the 50s or the 60s, even if it's not someone famous, Still goes for pretty good money. As you can see here, Disney has used the Silhouette theme for all kinds of different things like backpacks and pins and collectibles and jewelry and watches. So if you ever see a Silhouette, definitely take another look. You never know what you're going to have. Next up, we have this Dietz. This is a number 40 traffic safety lantern railroad. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this one was from the railroad. This one does say traffic, number 40, Syracuse, New York, made in the USA. This is kind of in the lines of like lanterns, gas lanterns. I think this one was actually a candle one, so this one had to be, I think this was a candle one. I'm not exactly sure. And as a matter of fact, I think there's actually a piece missing from the bottom. But anyways, the main thing is to look out for these type of lanterns. I mean, this thing was pretty beat up. It was missing its original pieces, and it's still sold for $34.99 with $9.99 shipping. And, you know, this thing brand new would easily go for $200. I mean, they're very hard to find because these are from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s, around that area, or era, I should say. And so finding these things in good condition is really hard to do. As you can see, it's got a little bit of rusting going on, which meant, you know, it's seen some weather, whether or not, you know, it was East Coast or West Coast. You know, East Coast is usually known for being a little bit more damp, so a lot of that stuff is going to be rusted out, like old cars and things are the same kind of way. Especially, you know, when they salt the roads, and, you know, a lot of the undercarriages of cars from the East Coast are just eaten through with rust. But as you can see here, this does has a little bit of rust. But the main thing is, if you ever see lanterns, to look them up, even newer ones like Coleman and gas lanterns. There's a huge market for that type of stuff, so just keep a lookout for that. Next up is we have this National League ball. I wanted to say this one was from the 60s, though I did list it from the 50s because this particular ball ran through that era. It was an official National League ball. So what's interesting about this is official balls, baseballs from back in those days, were not as plentiful as they are now. They make literally millions of these balls a year for current stuff because of foul balls and, you know, home runs and just batting practice. And like I said, balls just, you know, get used up all the time. But back in the day, you know, balls weren't as used back then. So it was actually really hard to get, you know, one of these balls, especially, you know, like this is probably a home run ball or a foul ball or just a ball that was given to some fan in the stands. But this is a National League ball, and I will say it did have some signatures on it, but unfortunately they were all faded. And I did try my best to kind of look to see if there was anyone notable that I can at least try to salvage. But unfortunately, even with UV light and all the different things that, you know, photoshopping with trying to like use the contrast, I couldn't figure it out. And so unfortunately, we just had to sell this as an unknown ball. Some of these balls brand new go for a crazy amount of money. This one sold for $24.99 with one bid. And, you know, like I said, this is stuff that easily you can find at garage sales, because the great thing about garage sales is you can go to one and they have like buckets of like sports equipment and like gloves, and I mean there's good money in that stuff, and bats, some bats are worth good money. But no one usually kind of looks at these random balls, because sometimes they end up in kids like rooms, and like, you know, grandpa gave it to them and they don't care because they're in the video game. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that collectibles that the younger generations won't appreciate too much, and I think this is exactly like kind of what happened with this ball. But anyways, we were able to date it because of the commissioner's signature right there, and that's another thing. Baseball has commissioners. They used to have National League and American League commissioners, and I think now they only have one commissioner for the entire league. So there's just a lot of great information to be found in here. And so that's how you're going to be able to date these, is by the commissioner's signature. If you can actually, you know, read that, it'll basically tell you what year this came from without having an official year on it. But I said enough about this. Yeah, I think everyone pretty much gets the gist. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, go down there and click the like button. If you don't, you're going to have bad luck forever. Hey, next up we have this bone and ebony diamond Dominos antique flower thing. Yeah, I guess these were made out of bone. They're antique or vintage, I should say. Not really antique. They did have a little kind of weird rust in some of these because I think these might have actually been held together by like some kind of metal pin. Anyways, as you can see here, it's got the, I'm pretty sure this was like an Asian import. As you can see there, it looks like an import label right there. But it definitely has a lot of Asian flavor to it. I mean, the box is falling apart. This thing's still sold for $81. Just look out for any kind of older, I forget what I think it's a Chinese Dominos game. It's Mahjong. I think it's called Mahjong. Some of those older sets actually go for a pretty crazy amount of money. But anyways, just look out for this kind of stuff. This is an old Domino's set, and you wouldn't think that this would go for $81, but it did. And some of this stuff, like I said, this is definitely garage sale and estate sale stuff. You know, people have this tucked in the corner. You know, they play it every once in a while, if not ever. And so this is just another kind of thing to look out for when you're at a garage sale or an estate sale. Next up, we have this Yardro from 1985. This is a